I love Hallmark films and I'm really easy to please when it comes to rom-coms. But unfortunately, The Baker's Son just wasn't very good. And I think the main reason for that is the writing of the characters. The performances were fine, but I feel like the characters were really flat and not that interesting. And that meant that I wasn't really emotionally invested in their journeys, and the actual events within the film are kind of boring as well. So unfortunately, it didn't really have a lot to offer. It was released in 2021. It's directed by Mark Jean and written by Stephen Peterman and Gary Dontzig, and it stars Eloise Mumford, Brant Daugherty, and Maude Green. And honestly, I feel like having too many characters meant that we jumped around far too much. Now, that's not to say you can't have a film with multiple characters. Of course you can. But I feel like the characters were really poorly written and we never really got the chance to know them in any real detail, in any depth. Especially Annie. I feel like her, played by Eloise Mumford, her character could have been a really fascinating one to get behind. She goes on quite an emotional journey at one point, but because we never really had the chance to emotionally connect with her and to dig deeper into who she was and what she wanted out of life, it kind of meant that I didn't really care. She was certainly the most likable of all of the characters, but she's not a very well written character. The same goes for Nicole, who is a ballet dancer that Matt falls in love with. And I feel like we're supposed to care that Matt's in love with her, but because we never really get to know that much about her, or indeed about Matt, we learn that Matt can't swim, and that's basically the extent. We learn also that he can bake bread better when he's in love, apparently. This whole magic bread aspect felt like padding. It felt like they realised the relationship aspects weren't very well written, so they tried to put something else in there to pad things out and make it a bit more interesting. But honestly, it was mediocre at best. I will say there was one character in this that I loved, and that's the character of Walter. He's played by Haig Sutherland, and I genuinely found him to be quite funny on a couple of occasions, and he did put a smile on my face. The film also does pick up a little bit, I'd say around the halfway mark. For a good half of this film, though, I genuinely thought I was going to be saying I hated it and I couldn't bear to watch it, but after about halfway, give or take, I found that it became watchable, but still not a good film. But to begin with, I honestly thought this wasn't going anywhere at all. Eventually, it did start to go in the right direction, but it was basically too little too late. Really bad character writing, a very scattered, messy narrative. They tried to throw too much in there with the ballet performance and this magical, enchanting bread, and it's not actually magical. It's just really, really hyped up bread to the point where it's unbelievable. And they tried to throw too much at it, I guess, because they realised the romantic aspects were very boring and not very convincing. And honestly, I didn't care for any of the characters. Would I recommend it? Not if you're just looking for a good rom com. If you're looking for something with somebody in the cast that you like, then give it a go if you're a fan of any of the cast. But in general, I wouldn't recommend it. It became a watchable film, but not enough to save it. Unfortunately, while I really wanted to like The Baker's Son, there are just too many problems with it.